John Cox is with me now. He's a former airline pilot and accident investigator, the CEO of Safety Operating Systems, which is an aviation safety consulting company. He's in St. Petersburg, Florida. Mr. Cox, welcome. We've spoken to you often at very sad circumstances like this. I welcome you back to our network, and thank you for giving us some time.
My pleasure. This is a sad day.
Well, it is a sad day, and you got that sense very clearly from the officials at that briefing as they talked about how everyone is grieving and the announcement that they do not at this point expect to find any more survivors. 27 bodies recovered from the plane and 1 from the helicopter. You, I know, Mr. Cox, were listening into that briefing. I was mentioning some of the things that stood out to me and to our network. For you, what was the most important bit of information that you got from officials so far?
I think the thing is it showed that the process is working, that all these independent agencies are cooperating and working together. And that's going to be key. The National Transportation Safety Board is going to lead this, and they will find what happened here. It's going to take some time, and it's going to be necessary for us to be patient, but we will understand how these two aircraft came together. I will say that the landing on runway 33 is routine. I've done it, countless times. I have seen many helicopters pass below and behind us when I was on that approach. So everything was routine until something went terribly wrong. And to determine what that something was is going to be the focus for NTSB.
So many pieces of information they'll be looking to. I mean, we heard the pilots in that air tower, air traffic control audio, as they said, we witnessed everything. They'll want witness accounts. And of course, they'll be dealing with what we're looking at here on the screen live, the debris and the fuselage as they reconstruct that. But I'm wondering, I'm going to bring in very specifically for you, Mr. Cox, the video that we have from the Kennedy Center that they were able to release publicly. You have seen this. We don't know, but what does it suggest to you? What does it tell you?
The videos that I've seen a couple of them this morning. You have to be very careful because it's hard to gauge depth from a video. So where the helicopter was in relation laterally to the jet is not clear. The radar information will give us more information there. The cockpit voice recorder from the jet will let us know what the pilots in the jet knew and what they were doing, and that will help as well. So the video is a very good piece of evidence, but it is only a single piece of evidence. NTSB is going to be looking to gather a lot of evidence from a lot of different places to be able to put this entire complex event together.
You mentioned that you have yourself landed at Reagan National many times, and it does seem to be sort of standard approach even into runway 33. But we're understanding that it's rather a complicated scenario in and around over Washington because it's commercial, it's military, VIP planes as well, and it's busy airspace given the size. It's concentrated. We've talked a lot about near misses, too, in aviation of late for all sorts of reasons. Are any of these factors things that you think might come into play?
Oh, certainly the airspace in and out of the Washington area is complicated, but the air traffic controllers are some of the best in the world that work in the Washington area. The pilots that come in and out of Reagan National are seasoned professionals. We all understand the process. We've done it many, many, many times. So this is a geographically constrained airport. It's relatively small that moves a lot of airplanes and helicopters through the airspace and does it safely. Have done this for many, many years, decades, safely. So all of these things come together, and this is what happened last night. That's what broke this very good and successful system. What broke it, and that's what they're going to look at.
So the fact that, again, as Secretary Duffy was mentioning, standard flight pattern for a commercial airline to be coming in for landing, even as a military training operation was also going on. He said it was a standard flight path, not unusual. Right. Would you agree with that assessment and description?
Absolutely, yes.
You would.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I've seen that happen many times where there'd be a military helicopter that would be on the east side of the Potomac River as we were coming up and would overfly the helicopter and then align and land on runway 33. So, no, it's absolutely common, routine, and standard.
And the fact that it was at night, we don't know, I suppose, about night vision or what kind of training was going on in that Black Hawk helicopter, but over lights and water and reflections, might that have affected things to any degree in your estimation?
I don't think so. I mean, we fly airplanes at night. We fly helicopters at night. We operate safely in and out of congested airports like Reagan National at night. So it adds complexity, but it is something that the pilots are trained to handle.
There were specific questions about the pilots in this case. We don't know the identity of the pilots in the military helicopter, but as far as American Airlines, the pilot had 6 years on this type of aircraft, and the first officer just about 2, he said. How do you, is 6 years considered an experienced pilot? How do you rate that kind of experience level?
Definitely experienced, and recognize that pilots, when they get to an airline, they have thousands of hours of experience before they even get in an airliner flight deck. They go through intense training, and they also get a lot of experience very quickly. Airline pilots fly a lot, and so they're going in and out of complex airports: Toronto, New York, Washington, Atlanta. And these are just routines. So bringing a jet in and out of complex airspace, it is what professional pilots do. So a 6-year captain, absolutely, I would say that he or she is a veteran, and a 2-year first officer, I would say is experienced. So they will certainly look at the training record of all the pilots involved, the military and the civilian pilots, and get an understanding of the background of these individuals, how they did in training, and the experience that they had. That will all be reviewed.
As I listen to you, and again, as I listen to that briefing, we know, for example, conditions were clear last night for the flying. The pilots, in your estimation, had experience. It was a standard procedure to have these kinds of flights going on simultaneously in the patterns that they were flying. And yet we have a deadly situation where there are no survivors expected in this midair collision, such a rare event. To you, then, what does it suggest might have happened?
It's too early to speculate on what might have happened. Clearly, the 2 aircraft arrived at the same point in the sky at the same time. That should not have occurred. And where the breakdown is, it will be the central focus of the National Transportation Safety Board. So the thing that's most important now is give the investigators time to do their work. They will publish it. They will make it public as soon as they have factual information. And until then, it is, let's be patient and let these professionals do their job.
Is that something we're going to have to be patient for a long time, do you think? Are you anticipating, as some of my earlier guests have said, months, maybe even years before they're able to fully piece this together?
I expect we'll have a preliminary report within 30 days. I expect a final report could take as long as about 18 months.
John Cox, thank you again for joining us. We always appreciate your expertise on very sad days such as this. John Cox from Florida.